liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.
Welcome to Tapped. You are tapped in. Let's get right to it. Iran has seized a couple of tankers or cargo ships coming through the Strait of HORMUZ recently. They've done this, I think, or we are thinking in retaliation to the United States seizing an Iranian cargo ship that was in the Persian Sea. Now, what the thing is, or what we think is occurring here is a tit for tat. This is not going to bode well for the United States nor for Iran. In spite of the so-called ceasefire, the unlimited ceasefire, it seems that things are starting to ramp up again. Sooner rather than later, we can expect more warfare between the warring states, United States, Israel, and Iran in the coming days. This is what we foresee. We foretell that that is going to occur. Iran has now also said that it will fire upon any ship that's coming in and does not adhere to its rules in terms of checking in, making sure that they have an okay to pass through the strait. The United States, for its part, just recently, Donald Trump has said that he has given the order for the U.S. Navy to fire upon and kill any Iranian vessel, that is attempting to lay mines in the Strait of HORMUZ, or any Iranian vessel or Navy ship that attempts to board or accost any ship trying to go through the passage. Now, this is what gets us. If the United States had decimated, had totally destroyed, obliterated the Iranian Navy, then how is this possible? The United States are saying, well, they're acting like pirates now. Well, pirates have ships. The Iranian government isn't supposed to have any ships left. Okay. Boat, shipped, craft, whatever, a raft, they shouldn't have anything, let the United States government tell it. But it seems that that is not the case. Iran has found ways to get around or even save Navy vessels from the onslaught of American and Israeli attacks upon the Navy. They've used these ships, however big or small, to control the Strait of HORMUZ, which they seem to be doing quite effectively. Now, United States, again, for Donald Trump, on the part of Donald Trump and his administration, it seems that everything they're attempting to do hasn't worked. All right. They want the world to think or to know that they control the strait. And Iran obviously is showing that that's not the case. So again, Iran just seized two ships, stopped them from going wherever they were going. Let it be told, one of these ships was an Israeli ship. I have a clip. We're going to drop that clip to give us more clarification and context on this matter. But what is in question is the effectiveness of the United States blockade on the Strait of HORMUZ. Is that really working? Let Iran tell it. It is not. Again, they are patrolling the strait as we speak. And we think that if a war, especially how it's been described by President Trump, has been won, or if the government, U.S. government or military has been victorious in this war, then how is it possible for Iran to keep operating at the pace that it is? It seems they have, honestly, it seems like they've made the United States look like liars, because they have ships in the water. Not only that, they are laying mines in the water as we speak. So additional mines have been laid in the water. President Trump has said that he's given this order for the Navy to shoot to kill any Iranian vessel that attempts to lay mines, as well as board any ship trying to get through the passage, exit or enter the Strait of HORMUZ. Now, again, none of this makes sense if the United States, if they've said they've obliterated the Navy. What is going on here? Does Iran have that type of production where they can produce ships out of nowhere? We think not. We think that like most of what the United States says in terms of destroying Iranian military equipment, it's not totally or all true. Iran, they say on their part, in terms of this war that's going on, they've been expecting this and they've been prepared for the longest time. They are patrolling the Strait. They are controlling the Strait, and in spite of what Donald Trump says and why he says is maybe he's saying this to keep the markets stable. So we can understand that aspect of it. But at the same time, Donald Trump or the American government ought to be able to know that, they should know that word or news of what's really going on will get out sooner rather than later. So most of what he says seems to be contrary to what is really going on in the Strait of Hormuz as well as in Iran. Iran, though, for its part, saying, hey, we're not negotiating. We're not negotiating for a ceasefire. We're not doing any of this because we don't trust the United States. They have been lying, and they're showing that, they're not in fear or intimidated by the might of the United States military. This act of what America calls aggression in the Strait of Hormuz, Iran seizing these two ships, is indication of that. Now, what the United States can do as a result of that, again, Donald Trump said that he has given the order for the Navy to shoot and kill any Iranian vessel that attempts to stop or confiscate any ship passing through the Strait of Hormuz. They are labeling what Iran is doing as pirating. All right. Now, make sense. The same accusation or claim has been laid on or at the feet of the United States government as well, that they are practicing in piracy. Now, what's going to end up happening, we think, is that the ceasefire is just, we think it's a ploy. United States is gearing up to attack Iran again. Iran is gearing up or claims to already be ready for this next wave or this next attack. We are sure that we're going to see this in the coming days. Now, before all this, though, we have a clip. We want to drop this clip that's going to give us a little more clarity on what's actually taking place in the Strait of Hormuz. Also, we have another clip. Again, Iran says they are prepared. They brought out new super weapons or missiles, they say, to teach the United States a lesson should they attack them again. But we're going to drop this first clip. Before we do, please like, share, follow, comment, and subscribe to Tapped. You are tapped into the art of political discourse. Your participation and viewership is very much appreciated. Also, help us to reach 5,000 subscribers by the end of this month. Your participation in that is also appreciated. We thank you for that. Now, let's get to this clip. Very important. Someone is lying, all right? And this is courtesy of Times of India.
In a bold show of force, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps stormed into the Strait of Hormuz and seized two vessels. In a statement, the IRGC Navy identified the ships as MSC Francesca and Epaminondas.
Now and again, those ships, that indication, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy Command, two offending ships, okay, that are linked to the Zionist regime, okay? So it can be taken, or it could be construed that those ships they did confiscate, that they took, belong to the Israeli regime or some Zionist regime.
And Epaminondas. These vessels were detained for, quote, jeopardizing maritime security and then taken to Iranian shores. The statement claimed that one of the two, quote unquote, offending ships, MSC Francesca, was linked to Israel. It further claimed that the vessels, quote, endangered maritime security by operating without the necessary permits and tampering with navigation systems, unquote. The Iranian paramilitary force reiterated that disruption of order and safety in the Strait of Hormuz is its red line. This comes as Iran vowed to use force to smash the U.S. blockade on its ports, while reiterating that the siege of the Strait of Hormuz will continue in retaliation. And the message doesn't stop there. Iran's top military command is now openly signaling full readiness for war as uncertainty looms over the American president's unilateral declaration of the extension of the ceasefire just before its expiry. The Iranian state-run broadcaster reported early Wednesday, quoting a statement of Qatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters spokesperson Ibrahim Zolfagari, that the country's forces would attack American and Israeli targets with full force if they attacked Iran.
The spokesperson for Qatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters, following repeated threats by the U.S. president and senior commanders of the aggressive and terrorist army of this country, stressed their full readiness and warned that the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran, in case of aggression and any action against Islamic Iran, will immediately be met with a powerful assault on predetermined targets and will deliver another deterrent lesson far more severe than ever before to aggressive America and the child-killing Zionist regime. Sate adi the.
So yeah, this looks like the ceasefire, for all intents and purposes, is just, it's a front. It's a front. Both sides, all three sides, are preparing, gearing up again for warfare. And we see that here at TAP. We think that will take place in the coming days. Iran is doing what it is doing. In fact, they are laying mines again in the Strait of HORMUZ. United States President Donald Trump has ordered the Navy to send in mine-sweeping ships, or those types of ships that can collect or dismantle these mines. Iran is saying, come in if you will. We wait to see whether or not Donald Trump will send the Navy in there with these mine-sweeping ships to clear the Strait of Hormuz. And if so, what will be the reaction of Iran as a result of that? Again, both sides, all three sides, are gearing up again for war. We see that coming. We see that, again, the ceasefire is just, it's a front, a ploy. It serves no purpose. All right. United States have brought in additional aircraft carriers and ships into the region, as well as soldiers. Iran, for its part, is bringing out other missiles, heavy weaponry, missiles that have not been used just yet, or as of yet, to prepare in their minds, and what a lot of us are thinking here, for war in the coming days. We're going to see whether or not this actually happens.
Tensions in West Asia are once again on a knife edge. According to the United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations, a container ship was approached by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps gunboat on Wednesday, just 15 nautical miles northeast of Oman.
Again, though, this is what gets me. If the United States government had decimated and obliterated the Iranian Navy, if it's at the bottom of the sea, how then did they go and raise those ships back up, or have enough Navy vessels, Iranian Navy vessels, to patrol and or confiscate, stop tankers and, container ships from passing through the Strait? And if this is actually occurring, United States is in somewhere in the Persian Gulf, watching this and allowing this to happen, then what's the reason for the blockade? If you're not going to stop those from, administering the passage through the Strait of Hormuz, then what's the use of you being there? Is it there just to stop Iranian ships? Iran, obviously knows this, because just recently the United States did confiscate and is holding the crew of that ship hostage right now. So if it's a tit for tat, and at some point someone's going to blink, something's going to take place, and this is why we here at TAP is saying this thing is about to explode sooner rather than later. Iran seems to be already back in that warfare mode. They seem more prepared and ready to go to us than the United States. What is for certain, the United States, if any attacks take place, they will have to take place, or those attacks will have to be more of the same, from the air or from sea. Anything inside that region or the Strait, near the Strait of Hormuz or Iran, in terms of military hardware personnel, are surely targets. And this is why we don't see that advancement, that aggression that Donald Trump is always speaking about. Iran, again, they seem to be waiting and prepared for any aggression the United States and Israel is willing to throw at them.
And moments later, shots were reportedly fired. The gunboat, as per UK MTO, did not issue a radio warning before opening fire. The vessel's bridge was heavily damaged, but miraculously, there was no fire on board.
This is not actual footage of the incident taking place.
And no environmental spill. All crew members were also reported to be safe. Iran's semi-official Tasnim news agency reported that Iran's military enforced quote-unquote maritime law on the container ship, that it ignored repeated warnings. The incident comes after the IRGC's aerospace commander issued a stark warning to the United States and its regional allies as tensions continue to escalate despite an extended ceasefire. Brigadier General Sayed Majid Musavi vowed that the IRGC would target wherever the people of Iran wanted them to, while delivering remarks in a message addressed to the people of Tehran.
And that's another issue that the United States isn't telling or speaking about. The Iranian people seems to be backing the Iranian government and the IRGC. For the most part, there's no dissension or cracks in the unity amongst the people in terms of what is being done or the attacks being fired upon them by the United States and Israel. Iran seems to have fermented. You know, they seem to have unified. The Iranians seem to have unified in the sense that, okay, yeah, United States, we're not buying anything you're talking about. You know, we seem to be on something totally different than what you are. And to help give a little more context to that fact, I want to drop this clip on you guys, let you guys see this. And this is the indication that the Iranian people are in full support of the Iranian government against the attack or the warmongering from the United States and Israel. Again, this clip is also courtesy of Times of India.
Chance, Iran unveiled two of its...
Hold on.
As Donald Trump pushes through a ceasefire extension, central Tehran has transformed into a roaring stage of steel, firepower, and defiance. Under blazing floodlights and thunderous chants, Iran unveiled two of its most advanced missile systems in a tightly choreographed public display, turning a military showcase into a calculated message of power. The timing was unmistakable, the optics even sharper. The display sent a direct signal toward Washington and Tel Aviv. Iran's deterrence is not only intact, it is being broadcast in full view of the world.
Now, that's the part we here at TAP discuss in terms of what we hear from the United States government, that propaganda or the narratives they spin, as opposed to what we are actually seeing in terms of what's coming out of Iran and as far as their missiles go, their hardware, their military capability. It seems that Iran has way more than what the United States thought they had, one, and has way more than what the United States said they destroyed too, you know? So Iran, again, for whatever reason, United States didn't actually go into this thing fully prepared or fully understanding what or comprehending what this war was going to be like, what it would actually take to defeat the Iranian government or the country of Iran. They went in, we think, here at TAP, just based upon the information they received from the Israeli government. The Israeli regime did not tell the United States everything that it should have told the United States, just so that the United States could have been better prepared. This is a war that is not going to end anytime soon. In fact, Donald Trump just recently said that there's no limit, no time limit on this war. So now we've went from 2 to 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks to no time limit on the ending of this war. this is going to be a war that's going to be taking place or being waged for some time to come. Make no mistake about that. So now, as a result of that, the American people and people around the world, governments around the world, have to come to the understanding that prices are going to rise. Things are going to go up, especially fuel. The economies of a lot of these countries will begin to falter. Inflation, we'll begin to see that. Well, a lot of us here in the United States already sees it. In fact, it was something that was in existence actually before these wars started, or this war started. But gas prices here are going through the roof. Prices for groceries are going through the roof. And we suspect or expect that in due time, insurance will go up, taxes will be applied to certain things, our utility bills will go up as well. All because the United States didn't think this thing through, and they were led blindly into a war that the world and even the experts and analysts here in the United States is saying the United States can't win. So we suffer as a result of Donald Trump's stubbornness. Again, if you don't need the Strait of HORMUZ, if the oil there does not matter, in any sense or respect, because the United States has its own, why are you there? There's not a nuclear weapon. There are no attempts to build a nuclear weapon. All right. There are no attempts to refine the uranium, make it into weapon grade uranium. There's none of that. All that is there is the lies that Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government and regime has told the United States. If we go back, Benjamin Netanyahu has done this before to countries in that region, Iraq, Syria, Libya. He said the same thing of all those countries that he's saying of Iran. United States, every time he sat before Congress or the Senate and said these things, they believed him. And we found ourselves, or the United States found itself in a war in the Middle East because Benjamin Netanyahu said so. All right. Here's this clip. Let's drop this and get a little understanding in terms of what the Iranians are preparing for those or anyone who, intends to attack it again.
State television amplified the spectacle as crowds waved flags and shouted slogans, while placards praised senior commanders and demanded retaliation against Israel. The weapons on show were the Ghada missile and the Khorramshahr 4, Khyber, positioned in prominent squares in the capital. Similar scenes were reported in Shiraz, Tabriz, and Zanjan, where arms were also placed on public view during nightly pro-government gatherings that have become routine since the war began.
And it seems also that Iran is emboldened. Now, normally, well, maybe because there's a ceasefire, Israel hasn't dropped bombs on that weaponry, those missiles, because we're pretty sure Israel has knowledge that they, at that time, actually, that they were parading this hardware, this military hardware through the streets of Iran. Maybe for the ceasefire, Israel did not blow everybody up trying to destroy that hardware, those missiles. Yeah.
On February 28th. Features of Khorramshahr 4. At the center of attention, the Khorramshahr 4, also known as the Khyber, represents one of the most advanced entries in Iran's medium-range ballistic missile family. Developed by the state-run Aerospace Industries Organization, the liquid-fueled system is assessed to have an operational reach of roughly 2,000 kilometers, placing a wide arc of regional targets within range. While liquid propellants typically require more preparation time before launch, they can enable heavier payloads, a trade-off Iranian designers appear to have embraced for this platform. Named after the city of Khorramshahr, a symbol of resistance during the Iran-Iraq War, the missile carries layered symbolism alongside its technical profile. Officials and state broadcasters have encouraged turnout, framing the rallies as proof of national unity while effectively crowding out space for dissent after dark. One image circulating from the display showed a label referencing RAS gas, a Qatari liquefied natural gas firm, hinting at the energy stakes threaded through the conflict. The message was reinforced by statements attributed to commanders of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, who warned Gulf neighbors that any use of their territory to launch attacks on Iran would invite sweeping disruption to oil production across the Middle East. The remarks, reported by Fars news agency, were framed as a deterrent aimed at regional bases and facilities that Iran's adversaries could leverage.
I mean, can't you just see the United States scrambling to communicate with those regional countries that Iran is making this threat to stay the course? Those countries, we're pretty sure they don't want this conflict, this war, because it actually hurts their bottom line, which is the dollar. They're about money. They're not necessarily about war. However, we think that they're being coerced to remain as a fixture in this conflict, this war with Iran. Their bases are being used probably without their consent. You would think that, or it could be thought that a lot of these countries actually do not want the United States there. It is high time they leave. In fact, a couple of the countries have begun to have those discussions amongst themselves. They see this situation as not advantageous for them more than it is for Israel. Maybe that thought is centered around the fact that, okay, if Iran is toppled and destroyed militarily, then what will Israel do after that? Again, there is history there in terms of what Israel has done to the region in terms of warfare and killing of civilians and citizens of other countries. Again, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Iran, the list goes on and on. But these countries who are in this fray because of the United States and Israel don't see a benefit, and not only that, now they're threatened. They are in the crosshairs of Iran because, of course, when the war jumps off again, the United States will launch attacks from the bases in those countries that they're being hosted in terms of their military assets. So yeah, they're damned if they do and damned if they don't. If they had any sense, like most countries who've had enough of the United States homogeny and coercion and bullying, they just say, hey man, we'll take our chances. It's time for you to go, But that remains to be seen if they ever get any balls to do that. For the meantime, they are in the crosshairs of Iran if anything jumps off. And we're sure, here at TAP, we're quite sure something will occur sooner rather than later. And those countries' bases or their land will be used for those attacks. And attacks not just by the United States, but Israel as well. And that's what makes this even worse for them. All right. Tell us what you think about this. All right. Your thoughts on as to whether or not the Strait of HORMUZ will be controlled by the U.S. as they claim, or will it be controlled and ran by the Iranians at the end of all this, should they survive? Not only that, but are they all gearing up for war again? In the coming days, will we see America attacking Iran alongside Israel? And if so, what do you think the response of Iran would be? Do you think they'll be able to hold out even longer? This war has taken place. It started February 28th. Here it is, almost April 28th. We're 2 months almost into this war with no end in sight. And not only that, everything that was said in terms of Iran's inability to defend itself, it's not been the truth. All right. So for his part, Iran is holding on. It seems to be a waiting game. We'll see who blinks first. So again, if you have any thoughts, drop them in the comments. Let us know what you think about this situation in the Middle East. Until then, take care of yourselves and one another.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.